All right, so for the reMarkable 3 wish list today, we have a specialist in the field. His name is Kit Betts Masters. You should definitely check out his YouTube channel. But we're gonna get started, and first, I'd like to kind of know, Kit, what is the main software feature that you would like to see improved on the reMarkable 3?
I think they are improving the software all the time, aren't they? And they've really gone hard in with the text recently, which has been really interesting. I'm going to actually share with you because I've made a few notes for your questions. So if that's all right, there's my reMarkable 2. And yeah, I think we're kind of overdue a reMarkable 3. I was actually expecting the reMarkable 3 shortly after they produced the reMarkable 3.0 software, which was really when they added all these text features. And as
Right.
you can see,
Yeah, I've been thinking about that just because, it's kind of odd that they would release an accessory so late into the RM2 life cycle.
yeah, and it always had these pogo pins, so
Yeah,
they clearly had this in mind.
they've been planning it for a while, but
Yeah,
I think
I
they're
imagine
kind
this
of
like
perfectionists, and they
yeah,
spend a lot of
I
time
I
making.
think this really clever design must have been on somebody's drawing board,
Yeah,
and they maybe they couldn't quite make it work, couldn't quite make it just this lovely click. The way they've done it is great. Let's face it, it's a really, really fantastic
agreed.
designed keyboard, and I'm pretty sure we'll see loads and loads and loads of them. This will become the standard way to make a portable keyboard case. I'm absolutely certain of it.
Yeah,
Um,
the keys
but
don't touch the space of the tablet, right?
yeah,
Leave
and I
like
wonder, we'll talk about the hardware a little bit later, but I wonder whether actually they've designed this to fit a future iteration of reMarkable as well. So if you look closely at what it's called the reMarkable type folio. It's not called the reMarkable 2 type folio. So I think they've got something in mind to have this have a longer lifespan. We'll see. But yeah, I've always wanted them to do would be to make a dedicated drawing app, because when I first picked up a reMarkable, I don't know about you, I know that you draw as well, don't you? I know that you're very interested in drawing as well,
Yeah.
and I know that you, like me, you've not found anything that's totally replaced lovely paper sketchbooks,
Yeah.
but when I first started drawing on reMarkable and using the pencil tool, I was like, wow, this is actually something that straight away feels, it does feel immediately like real pencil. But what I want from them, I want, think like textured brushes. Think a use of Adobe Fresco.
I
Adobe
have,
Fresco. You have,
yes.
yeah, and that's
I
like,
use Sketchbook more often, but I have used
yeah,
Fresco.
Sketchbook, exactly another example. But just think about like all the like blending options, all the different brushes you get from that. And I know you wouldn't have color, or you could have it color ink, but I know we're not on like the full color kind of OLED screens, that kind of glorious looking for art. But I think that actually this could be such a powerful device for artists if they just give us, the amazing brush options, proper layer blending, different options for layer blending. It's great you can have layers and you can hide one. It's great you can export as SVG as well, but just a bit more on the device. It would probably need a bit more RAM to make it work perfectly, probably a bit more processor speed.
You
And
actually
I
just
think
made me
that's,
think of something. What about opacity on layers?
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So
So, like,
properly
yeah,
opacity
yeah.
channels. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
Properly.
that's what you're getting on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that's like definitely missing. And
Yeah.
like
And
you were
what
saying,
do you think? Like, is there anything like what other features you'd want to see in a drawing app? I've been racking my brains a little bit.
um, to be honest, that was not on my wish list, but it is
Mm.
now.
Yeah.
So I haven't really thought of any, but perhaps the ability to import, like if they make a drawing app, the ability to import JPEGs, PNGs, other sorts of files, where you could then add that as a layer of some sort.
Yeah.
So I know some people,
You
um,
can.
that are
It's
more like
true.
industrial designers, they pull
Right.
in graphics and then they like trace over and whatnot,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
would be something that if it was
I
natively
think you
built.
can add well, you can start on a PDF, so that's one way you could do it. And I think there's a way to add in some
Or
images,
like
can't you?
within the drawing app, having the ability to
Yeah.
pull that in and then just like quickly rescale it to whatever you
Yeah,
do.
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, drawing works great on here. You can see
It
some
really,
things.
yeah. In my 2-year review, I mentioned that the reason I don't draw very often on it is because of the eraser.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the drawing style where I, you know, add a lot and then I subtract as well. So
Yeah,
I
got it.
can
Yeah,
have like
charcoal you mentioned, didn't you?
reusable
Yeah, I've got
erasers
a
and stuff.
fair few kids'
So
drawings on
having
there.
some sort of feature like that where it could do that, and I think that all ties into a better latency. So as
Mm,
you know, with the eraser, when you do it, it kind of takes a second, and then it processes, and then it refreshes, and then it deletes it.
yeah.
So maybe perhaps if the RM3 had kind of better specs in that sense, it would be more apt for erasing.
Mm. Yeah, and actually, well, I'll tell you, one what thing you might like then is
That's
the
a
way
cool
I
drawing.
did this is to use the white. So
You use
you've
the
got
white as eraser.
yeah.
Very cool.
So you could, I think your drawing style, it sounds like to me, you build up a bit of a, positive with the black, with the pencil tool, perhaps. Do
Hmm.
your shady, lots of different tones, and then use, I don't, you can't get a
The
white
thin
pencil,
white is
but you can have a white brush.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so that might be quite neat. But absolutely, I mean, it's just it could be so much more, couldn't it, for
Yeah.
drawing? And they don't make a lot of drawing,
They have the right platform for it. I think they just
yeah.
need to fine tune some things.
I think it's that just that pencil. When you first picked up that pencil, and you're like, wow, this is, I got this is the first few drawings I made, I think, on it, and
Yeah.
it's like, actually, it
It
feels
feels
really
so
right.
natural and intuitive, right?
Mm. So that would be my sort of wish list for that. I've got to find
Okay.
the file which we were. There it is.
That's great. So my next question would then be: is there some form of accessory, besides the two pens and the folios and the type folios that you would like to potentially see?
Yeah, I was racking my brains about this as well. It's quite a hard one, isn't it? Because especially as they're going for quite a minimalist kind of approach,
Yeah.
as with the software as well. Keeping it kind of like a one, focused device. I don't really like the kind of distraction-free moniker that's like chucked around about it. I really think about these. That it is a focused device. That is what we mean when we say distraction-free, isn't it? But I just think for me, there are some of these ink devices are very geared towards focus, and some are really geared towards being able to do multiple things, many things, and they need to keep it focused. So I was trying to think, well, what other accessories would you need for that? And I was just thinking, it would be really great if e-ink tablets could integrate a little bit better with your desktop experience or your laptops.
Mhm.
And I think there's a kind of Lenovo have missed a trick on this with their uh, well, they missed a lot of tricks with their smart paper actually, but the I think reMarkable might do well to partner maybe with a sort of PC manufacturer or another software manufacturer to make it really close, really able to closely link with your desktop. So maybe it's something that you could actually like, it could come in and sit in a dock, and then you very easily you can just send a file across for reading or something that you've got to mark up. Oh, and it be that kind of second screen, like we were talking just before we went on air about using e-ink tablets as a second monitor for your actual laptop, just things like that. And I think a lot of people have the use case of this type of tablet that they exist next door to their keyboards. They're like their little notepad, they're their e-ink notepad right next to their keyboard whilst they're working away. And that's certainly what the reMarkable's become for me when I've revisited it recently for my desk notes. But actually, I could almost imagine an e-ink tablet like being something that could kind of integrate into a laptop. I don't know if you saw the Lenovo design where they have a little kind of scratch pad with a stylus, and it's actually another OLED screen, I think, or it might be another LCD screen, but it's actually in the laptop next door to the keyboard, and you could kind of just imagine that just for your quick notes.
Oh, you're talking about the Lenovo, the ultra wide laptop?
Yeah, exactly. It's very wide
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
the
got a keyboard.
ThinkBook Gen 3.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
Right. I think so I don't know if you ever saw the one before that, the
Mm.
ThinkBook Plus Gen 2. That actually had a
E-ink on the
swivel
back.
screen that had an e-ink on the back and a
Yeah.
regular one on the front.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Um, so I mean, yeah, they've like what you're pointing at is like I think ideal because we were just talking about this before. Like with the Onyx book, you can have that set up as a second screen for your
Mm.
monitor, and like if you're reviewing a document, there's really no need that it should need to be on an LCD or an OLED. You could just have it
Absolutely.
on there. What if the reMarkable could do the same?
Yeah,
If it
totally.
had some form of pogo pin dock that would just directly connect
Yeah.
into that,
Yeah.
and then become like some form of an external monitor or some better integration, just like you're talking about, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so I can imagine you could have the files. You could literally look through the files on your PC on here and just open up whichever one you needed to read, and then you could like carry this. Maybe your desktop still obviously stays with the desk, and you carry it through to your living room, or your laptop stays connected, and you just carry it through. It's just like a periphery. It's like a satellite to your laptop, maybe. And I can kind of imagine that maybe they could build like a smaller one that just like slots in, kind of like you and I have been talking a little bit about the framework, like an e-ink module, that could just sit in as a sort of side panel and pull it out. It's your little reader. Oh, I just got to go and read this and review this. So take it out, make my notations on it, plug it back in, and the file's there on the computer. And
You're saying that reMarkable should make a screen for the framework.
Yeah, totally. There we go.
That'd be
That's
pretty cool,
the
man.
collaboration. Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I also thought that actually their designs are so sleek and everything. Frankly, they could make bags and apparel, and I think people would buy them. Like they do have
just like a whole accessory line.
Yeah.
One of the hardware things I was thinking of was just honestly the pen. Like it's they make the white one without the eraser, the black one with the eraser, but they could launch a host of like a line of pens.
Yeah.
Like I used to collect pens when I was younger, so I had all forms of different types of pens and whatnot. And like I would buy one immediately, because I prefer ergonomics over like a sleek kind of slim pen like that. So
yeah, I'm a pen lover as well, but that's what Supernote do so well, I think,
is that you can use like any Wacom kind of. Well, I mean, with the reMarkable you can as well, right?
Yeah, but you can use any Wacom pen. This works. This is the Supernote pen.
Yeah,
it's got a ceramic nib. It works on anything, but like they'll say, it'll scratch normal surfaces. But the Supernote, it has a special type of film that it kind of indents into.
How do you find the ceramic nibs?
I love it.
I've actually never used one of them.
Yeah, so this Supernote is really geared towards writing.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really nice features on it, and they're updating this all the time. And the one I really love is it automatically does the handwriting recognition in the background.
Okay.
So there's no lag. It's you basically write yourself a paragraph and then press that, and it will be done in the background. So it's kind of like there's another layer rather than the way the reMarkable handles it, which is.
And the pen just looks like it has a really like quality feel too, right?
Yeah, it does. Oh, yeah. And that's what you're saying. I mean, you can buy, there's a whole range of different ones of these that you can buy. They're called the Heart of Metal pens. And that's, being able to accessorize it. There's loads of different covers that they make. So they could go down that route. It's kind of, they're keeping it a little bit kind of early Apple, aren't they? That you want these ones because we say these are the best designs. So these are the ones you want. And we're not going to give you much choice because you want these ones.
Yeah, I got you. That's nice. That's awesome. So I guess, Kit, for my last question, I was just going to ask if there's some form of hardware improvement. I mean, obviously, reMarkable has great hardware already, but there's always room, right? So is there something that you specifically would like to see?
I mean, there's loads. There is loads that they could do. I think it's not so much an improvement to the reMarkable 3 per se, because I think they will eventually produce a device which is pretty similar to this in how sleek it is. If they can go thinner, they will. If they can go just as thin with the light, they will. They will do something that is, again, it won't look just exactly the same because that wouldn't capture people's imagination, but there will be an iteration on the reMarkable, the sort of normal reMarkable. But what I hope they'll do is that they'll diversify their line a little bit. Again, think Apple, there was one iPhone and there was one color you could buy, and there was, and then the next one came out, and the only difference was it had a white back. I seem to remember was the second one, was it? And like, okay, so everyone wants it because it's got a white back, and actually there's, and then it took possibly until the fifth iPhone maybe before they actually had any choices of colors, and then they had the little FEs or whatever they were called, the kind of kids version, didn't they?
And then size as well, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
you
So
have is
one
3.5
side,
inches for the
yeah,
first like 4 or 5 years.
yeah,
And then meanwhile, like Galaxy was making the
yeah,
Samsung Note, which people called like a phablet, which was a very weird
yeah,
term.
yeah.
But
That's right.
then
Yeah.
like Apple started to catch on and the trend just went that way, right?
That's it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, but and I think they're just sort of on that same trajectory, and I'm looking forward to them. As you know, they're scaling as a company, and they've got big investment now, and they'll have to keep those investors happy. And probably one of the things they'll have to do to keep those investors very happy is that they will need to have more launches, and therefore sort of sell more.
Mhm.
But they've also made it really clear in their kind of business that their sort of mantras with their business is that they don't want to make devices obsolete every 6 months. What they want to do is they want you to buy a device and then love it for 3 or 4 years. So I think they'll go to a bit of a cycle of so every other year there's a main release, and then there's the pro version, maybe like every other year as well. A bit like, again, early Apple, you had the 5 and you had the 5S, the 6 and the 6S.
Yeah.
And I think that they will do something like that. They might not call it a pro. They'll probably make up their own sort of thing. I think there'll be a reMarkable 3 maybe next. And I think shortly after that, there'll be a 3 Pro. But what I would really like, I'd love to see a reMarkable student, a reMarkable, which actually goes back to the kind of design cues of the first reMarkable, which, it was really nice. It was really light. It felt more robust. It's like, I really, really enjoyed the first reMarkable. I like the buttons even.
Likewise, yeah.
And actually just, make it that bit more plastic feel, and make it something that students could actually afford, because that's what's stopping students from getting into this e-ink world is stopping them, is the price, frankly. And actually now there is the option to really diversify, because they can make that student with this type of screen with the 227 ppi, I think it is, this screen.
Mhm.
And now the Kindle Scribe, for instance, has the 300 ppi screen. So
Yep.
that's a very easy delineation, isn't it? A Pro has that in it. A student version has that in it. Then the Pro has the maybe 128 gigabytes of storage, and the student has 32 gigabytes. Differentiate like that.
Yeah.
There's 4 cores in this. There's 2 cores in this. Whatever
Right.
it needs to be. I think
Just
they'll
use
do
just use like reMarkable 2 tech or reMarkable 1 tech in this,
exactly. Yeah.
right?
Basically, the student would be reMarkable 2 tech, but in a plastic,
Yeah,
cheaper to manufacture housing, I think,
sure.
with a cheaper line of accessories, and and all these things, and then the people who go for that look, the people who want to look swaz in meetings, like, they'll still go for the Pro version. And then also you can have the color on top as well if you want. And I would love to see, we were talking about drawing it earlier, I would love to see an A4 color reMarkable. So I think they do a fabulous job of it.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. And now
Yeah.
the Kaleido Free is good enough, and they exist in larger panels.
So this is something I was just thinking about right now as you mentioned that. Do you think color is something that kind of goes against the ethos of reMarkable or not really?
Well, I think, given that they have this amazing, they've bothered to make this amazing device for drawing. They've bothered to make this amazing tool, this pencil.
Mhm.
I feel that actually drawing and art is really in their ethos. I think that actually
Yeah.
it's there. So I immediately, when I picked up the first remark, I was like, I'd love this in A4. I'd love this with color, and it would be £1,000 or something, but it would. I think it would be absolutely brilliant. It would just,
It'd be a hit, right?
yeah, and people like me would buy it immediately, and other people would make that decision. Well, I don't need color. It's for words. I'm going to stick with the Pro A5 black and white. I don't see reMarkable having a massive range of different products anytime soon. But
Yeah.
what I do think that they will have to do is they'll have to have more regular releases. And I think that in 3 years' time, I think there'll be a reMarkable release of some sort, which isn't just a new accessory. I think there'll be maybe even every 6 months, because I think that that is just what the big tech companies do. They have to keep that turnover. They'll need to do things like securing sort of the quantity of screens that they'll need, because you take like Kindle Scribe have this exclusive deal to have the 300 PPI. We wondered if it was only 6 months or, but it turned out to be a year. So you'll see some black and white 300 PPIs coming out this autumn, I don't doubt, this fall, sorry. And they, possibly that's what reMarkable will, they'll need to keep up with those things. They're a bigger players now. When they started, they were the original. There was only really this and the Sony DPT, and it's kind of offshoot.
Did you ever try one of those?
Say again?
Did you ever try one of the Sonys?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, not purely the Sony one, but I had the Quirk Logic equivalent, and it was great. The Quirk Logic was an interesting wee device. It won't have any charge on it, no doubt. But Quirk Logic, unfortunately, they went bust recently. But it's so great because it's way lighter. It's way lighter even than the reMarkable.
And it's big, right?
Yeah, and it's big. And I think that they've even got a DPT2 now, which only really, I think the only way to buy one is in a Fujitsu. Right. But the problem with it was it didn't have a Wacom stylus, and you had to charge this stylus as well. But the screen feel is great. They really made. Yeah, it's a great device.
That's very cool. So one last question following up on your last comment about making like a student edition, a pro edition.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in the business world that get their company basically gives them a reMarkable and they use that in their suite of things. Do you think there would be a place for a business sided reMarkable, or is that kind of already the RM2? You think that's
I think that's what this is. I think that would be the pro, really. And I there's a couple of things you asked about software features earlier on. The one thing I did think is perhaps having a small suite of apps that you could choose, a reMarkable app store would be a good way to go. Now they probably are a bit bigger, because that is always going to be leveled at them. Is it distraction free or is it just feature free? And that is the question. And actually, business people would like to be able to look at and edit their spreadsheets, not massively involved sheets, but a simple Sheets app would be very useful. Having more than just having something that was actually two-way with the Microsoft integration would be really useful, I think. Having something where you could actually, you could send it to the reMarkable from Word, and then you can edit it and you could send it back to Word, or just it be a cloud, Microsoft OneDrive cloud document would be useful for them. I think there's a few things they could really think about. What does a business person want to do on this tablet? Keep that kind of distraction-free, or keep that focus on the device, not let people download a chess app or something for no particular reason. Although it could be there and people are making that choice. But I think that, keep it that keep with their their business mantra, keep their marketing message around this place for you to focus. You pick it up, the first thing it says is, we've designed this to get out of your way. We've designed this to give you space to think, and you really do buy into that when you go with a reMarkable, and that but they should really learn from the Supernote, because the Supernote, they listen intently to everything that their followers say, and they also have a massively loyal fan base, probably a bit smaller. Well, it is a bit smaller, but they ask for things like, we want links to anywhere on the device, so anywhere you can add a link to anywhere on the device, you can make anything into a link.
What you're doing currently.
Yeah, you can make a table of contents in your notebooks. The only equivalent, this is when reMarkable added tags. Yeah, the only equivalent you've got is tags. But you can make a full-on, layered document tree in every single notebook in this. You can make, and people do, they make a contents page, and then on that contents page is links to loads and loads of different notebooks within their thing. So really what they are really appealing to is the people who are really into Bujo, like bullet journal users. And, that's, you'll see a lot of my notebooks, they end up being a little bit like, well, not all of, but some of the kind of ideas behind bullet journal. And you have this idea of making a contents page in a bullet journal and then referring and then migrating and things like that. And that's what the steadfast users of the Supernote, that's what they end up doing. They manage the device. They manage these quick links on the side. And they manage the device like a bullet journal, and they get really involved with it. But it's a bullet journal that never runs out, because the worst thing about bullet journaling is you end up with loads of them, and you don't have the bullet journal that you wrote that thing in 5 years ago with you. With the Supernote platform, you can. And I think that reMarkable ought to learn just that little bit from Supernote, that they don't want to go down the route of giving everyone everything that they want, because then it just gets cluttered and isn't focused. But just listen out and think, what can we integrate that just gives people that opportunity to go deeper with the device? And I think that's where the software wise, that's where they ought to really go. Well, that and the drawing app that we were talking about earlier.
Right. Well, certainly there's always room for improvement, and that's one of the goals of this video, is to potentially relay some of these changes to reMarkable. So hopefully they will see this at some point.
And anyone in the comments,
great ideas and opinions by you, someone who is very well versed in the e-ink world. Awesome to talk. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. That the people in these companies do listen. They do read your comments. They do pay attention to these things on social media. So have that conversation and make sure anything you do want, that you're talking about. I would also say, you're broadcasting it and you're making those comments and you leave them out there. Put the pressure on them to improve, because I think reMarkable that they ought to engage a little bit more with their audience. They're not doing what Supernote are doing. They're not doing what Books is doing. Do you know on the Books tablet, there's a little, within the device, there's a little send feedback to Books, and in that is like feature requests and they,
really?
and if we've seen it time and time again, like people put a feature request and it's there in the next update. I'm not saying that
They're
reMarkable
actively monitoring.
they don't need to be that quick, reMarkable, because we're also a bit annoyed that sometimes you get so many changes you can hardly keep up with how the device works on the Books. But just to be a little bit more responsive to your audience, a little bit more engaged, really. I think they can actually do a bit of a better job with like, I don't want to say influencer, but like content creators like yourself, and like me as well, but like to engage a little bit more, like be a bit more forward. Like I don't know. Well, essentially all I get from reMarkable is just a press release, like every now and again, and it's like, have somebody to actually have that conversation with people and get opinions, because we're listening, as you said earlier on off air. You said, I hear what other people are saying and I get opinions, and that helps me learn about the device. Well, that's what they need to do a little bit more of as well. And I think if you're out there, if you're making a decision, if you're using this as sort of should I buy a reMarkable or not, I would say buy with confidence, first of all, because e-ink tablets are great. And if you really think to yourself that you really think, I can see a place in my work life for a reMarkable or any e-ink tablet at all, then I would say you be confident about it. I ummed and erred about it for a long time as well. And then I bought it and I loved it immediately. And it took the place of all my paper notebooks immediately. And it was, I don't go to work without an e-ink tablet ever. And I use them in my personal life as well.
Yep.
But I would also say shop around a little bit, because the reMarkable is the perfect device for many people. But the Supernote is a perfect device for many people. And the Books device are the best device for many people. So really look at something I try to do in my own content, is try to give you the reasons to buy one or the other. So I don't think that there is a best device. I just think that there's a best device for me. There's a best device for you. So hopefully you can find that.
Yep. That's very well said. Well, thank you for coming on. We will certainly collab more in the future. And thank you for all your opinions.
Look forward to it. Cheers. Thank you.
Kit Bet Mast. Sorry, let me restart that. Is it Kit Betts Masters?
Betts Masters, yeah.
Betts Masters. Okay, gotcha. His name is Kit Betts Masters, and
Good try. Kit Betts Masters. It's a tongue twister, isn't it?
I'm sorry. Kit Betts Masters. That's a tongue twister.
I know, yeah. The kids at school struggle to get it right every time. Sometimes they mix and match, which they have a bit of fun with, I suppose.